Hey everyone. If you're dreaming of turning those YouTube uploads into a cash flow, well, you've come to the right place.
That's right.
For this deep dive, we've gone ahead and gathered a ton of research and articles all about cracking the code of YouTube monetization.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more to it than just hitting that upload button and hoping for the best.
Exactly. So much more to it.
People really need a solid plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of plans, where do we even begin?
Well, the first thing is you got to figure out what your niche is going to be.
Right, like what kind of content are you going to make?
Exactly. It's like setting sail without compass if you don't have that clear direction.
Makes sense. And how do you choose? I mean, we've got sources here talking about everything from tech reviews to gaming tutorials to beauty and lifestyle.
Yeah, there are a lot of options.
So how do you pick?
Well, you got to think about what you're passionate about, right? Because you're
Mhm.
going to be spending a lot of time creating this content.
Sure.
But you also have to consider what people actually want to watch.
Right. Is there an audience out there for it?
Exactly. One of our sources, a really successful gaming YouTuber, actually, he emphasized the importance of keyword research.
Keyword research.
Yeah, so using tools like Google Trends or TubeBuddy,
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
you can see what people are searching for, and that can give you some great ideas for content.
So it's like being a detective, figuring out what people are looking for.
Absolutely.
Now, what about YouTube's guidelines? I know those can be a bit of a minefield.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get on the wrong side of those.
Yep. What are some of the common pitfalls people fall into?
A lot of creators, they just don't take the time to read and understand those community guidelines and monetization policies.
So it's like not reading the rules of the game before you start playing.
Exactly. And that can lead to some serious problems, like your videos getting demonetized or even taken down.
Ouch. Yeah, that's not good.
Not good at all. For example, one thing a lot of people don't realize is that you can't just use any music you want in your videos.
Oh, yeah, copyright stuff.
Exactly. Using copyrighted music without permission can get you in big trouble.
So you got to be careful with that.
Definitely. Now, speaking of things to be careful of, let's talk about the YouTube Partner Program.
Right. The holy grail of YouTube monetization.
That's right. But there are those requirements.
1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours.
Yeah, that can seem a bit daunting, especially when you're just starting out.
It does, for sure.
Yeah.
But our sources say it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. Once you hit those milestones, you open up a whole world of monetization options.
It's like leveling up in a video game.
Exactly. And remember, watch time is key here. You know, YouTube really prioritizes videos that keep people engaged.
So how do you boost that watch time? Got any tips from the experts?
Well, one of our sources, he's a video editing pro, and he says those first 10 seconds are crucial.
Really?
Yeah, you got to grab the viewer's attention right away with a strong hook. Something that makes them want to keep watching.
Like a cliffhanger in a movie?
Exactly. You could start with a compelling visual, a provocative question, or even just a snippet of the most exciting part of your video.
Get them hooked right from the start.
Exactly. And then once you've got them hooked, you got to keep them engaged with a good story, good visuals, a good pace. Nobody wants to watch a rambling, poorly edited video.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what about editing techniques? Any specific tips there?
Well, one thing that's really popular these days is jump cuts.
Jump cuts.
Yeah, it's where you cut out all the dead air and keep the pace moving.
Oh, I've seen those. Yeah, it makes the video feel more dynamic.
Exactly. And then you've got things like B-roll footage, to add some visual interest and help illustrate your points.
And what about text overlays and graphics?
Those can be really helpful too, especially if you're trying to explain something complex or make your videos more accessible.
So many tools in the video editor's toolbox.
There are a lot of options.
All right, so let's say you've hit those partner program milestones. You're creating awesome content. You're ready to start making some money.
Time to cash in.
Exactly. So what are our options here? We've got ad revenue channel memberships, super chat.
Yeah, it's like a whole buffet of monetization methods.
Let's break down some of those, especially the ones that might be less familiar to our listeners. What about super chat, for example?
Okay, so Super Chat is a way for viewers to pay to have their comments highlighted during live streams.
So it's like paying for a billboard in the chat.
Sort of, yeah. It's a way for fans to show their support and stand out from the crowd.
Pretty cool. And what about YouTube Premium revenue? How does that work?
So YouTube Premium is a paid subscription service where viewers get ad-free viewing, offline downloads, and other perks.
Right, I've heard of that.
And as a creator, you get a share of the revenue from those premium subscribers who watch your content.
Gotcha. So it's another way to diversify your income streams.
Exactly. It's all about having multiple revenue streams.
So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And all our sources agree that's super important for long-term success.
Definitely. But at the end of the day, none of these monetization methods matter if you're not creating content that people actually want to watch, right?
You got high quality content as the foundation of everything.
Absolutely. So what are some tips for creating that awesome content?
Well, first of all, invest in some decent equipment.
Like what?
A good microphone is essential. A lot of our sources recommend the Blue Yeti as a good starting point.
I've heard that's a good one.
Yeah, and then a decent camera. Something like the Sony ZV-1 is a popular choice.
Okay, and then what about editing software?
Yeah, you'll need to learn the basics of video editing. Something like Adobe Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro.
Those can be a bit intimidating, though.
They can be, but there are tons of tutorials online.
Okay.
And remember those thumbnails? They're super important too.
Yeah, they're like little mini movie posters for your videos.
Exactly. You want something eye-catching with bright colors, bold text, and an image that accurately represents what your video is about.
So it's all about grabbing that attention.
Yeah.
All right. And our sources also mention the importance of YouTube analytics.
Yes, you've got to understand your audience and how they're interacting with your content.
So what are some of the key metrics we could be tracking?
Well, watch time is obviously huge, like we talked about, but you also want to pay attention to audience retention.
Audience retention.
Yeah, it's how much of your video people are actually watching. If you see a big drop-off at a certain point, that tells you something needs to change.
Interesting.
And then you've got things like demographics,
Yeah.
Age, gender, location that can give you insights into who your audience is.
And you can use all that information to make your content even better.
Exactly.
Last but not least, let's talk about community engagement.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
RD sources say it's crucial for building a loyal fan base.
Absolutely. You got to interact with your viewers, respond to comments, ask questions, create a sense of community.
Make them feel like they're part of something.
Exactly.
So it's not just about broadcasting, it's about building relationships.
Exactly.
Got it. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have a lot of great information.
What's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Just get started. Don't let the fear of failure or the overwhelming amount of information hold you back. Just start creating, start experimenting, start building your community, and see where this journey takes you.
Awesome advice. Thanks so much for joining me for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And for all you aspiring YouTubers out there, remember your unique skills and passions. They're valuable. You have something to offer the world, so go out there and share it.
That's right. The world is waiting.
And who knows, you might just become the next YouTube sensation.
Absolutely anything is possible.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you later, 8.